are live here on C Major Before the Show. Hey, Spreaker listeners, you're here on C Major Before the Show. Thank you so much for tuning in today. It's our last episode of major chords, and in our last episode, we learned to find C, F, and G chords on the piano. In today's class, we will talk about D, E, and A chords. Pretty soon, you'll be writing your own chords to your own songs. It's all about what you want to do with your music making. It's not about me and what I'm able to play. We'll say more about that in our shout-outs today. So let's get started. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, CMajor Porter. We have some new names to call out in our Music Making and Wellness Club. If you hear your name, raise your hand by sending us a tweet to let us know you're listening at CMajor Porter 1. On the roll call today, we have Greg. Greg, are you listening? Jeffrey, are you listening? Carlo, can you hear us? Frank, I think you may be listening tonight, so thank you for tuning in. Tariq, thank you for listening. Kristen, can you hear us? Joanna, what about you? Are you tuning in? Teresa, I hope you're listening to us tonight. We're looking for Christy. Christy, are you listening to the podcast? Barbara, are you listening to the podcast tonight? So thank you all for tuning in. And if you'd like me to call your name, just send me a tweet and let me know that you're listening and you want me to say your name in the roll call, and we'll be happy to give you a shout out. And now we're going to talk about chords. So if you happen to have your resource for chords, pull that out, because in our description of today's podcast episode, we did say that we are going to cover D, E, and A. And I'm going to remind you that we did talk about C, F, and G, and where to find those on your posters and charts that you may be using. And then we will talk about a sequence as well. Now, what I'd hoped to do was post a sequence over at Music Glue. I did not get a chance to do that. I started the project, and it's a work in progress. So I'm just still deciding how to post, what format to post it in, if it's going to be clear for you, if it's something that you can really use after hearing the podcast. Is it useful, or would you just rather jot down your own sequence to practice? We have so many mobile devices now that sometimes people just prefer to write down their own way of doing things. But let's go ahead and take a look at D, E, and A. So if you have your poster that shows you that, you should see, and I'll talk in terms of black and white key relationship. So you should see that D is the key that's in the middle of the two black keys. So just think 1, 2, D is in the middle. And then you will think about your spacing, because the definition of a chord is 3 notes with a space between each note. So if you find your spacing on the white keys first, basically you'll see note, space, note, space, note. But because it's a D chord, we want to have a black key in the middle this time. And so go ahead, if you're thinking left to right, and play that left black key in the 3 black key group. So just think 1, 2, and then 3, and you land on that key. Now, if you went up from the white keys, you have your D. Then you have note, space, note. You landed on F. Then just go ahead and make that F into a black key. But your poster should show you that. And so on your poster, you'll see the keys shaded in if you're using that type of poster. And then underneath that, you'll see the letter name spelled out for you. D hyphen F sharp, which is shaded in, hyphen A. And then you have your inversions that are available there too. So that's it for your D chord. Now go to your E chord. So just think E is also by your group of 2 black keys. So 1, 2, E is to the right of your black key, 2 black key group. And so go ahead and find your spacing on the white keys. Note, space, note. And then go ahead and make your G into a black key, which will be the black key in the middle of the 3 black key group. So if you found your spacing on the white keys, make that G go up to the very next key. That's the black key we need. So E, G sharp, B. So then B, 1, 2, 3, B is there. B is to the right of your 3 black key group. So how are you doing so far? Hopefully you're doing okay. Okay, next, let's go ahead and go to A. So, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, A is there. Did you find it? Okay, so just think, if you're counting left to right again, that A is between the 2nd and 3rd black key of a 3 black key group. So again, 1, 2, 3, A is there. Find your spacing on the white keys, note, space, note, and then go ahead and make that C into a black key. If it makes sense to say it that way, and I think it does. It works with my students when I'm working with them in the studio. It works for them. And then go ahead and find your E. So these are the notes that make up an A chord, A major. A, C sharp, E. So I'll give you a moment to find all of that, and then I'm going to come back and just repeat what I just said, and then we're going to put all of our major chords together. Okay, so back in a moment. With C major on C major before the show, and we've just taken the time to find 3 new major chords. They're new to you, but D, E, and A we focused on for this evening's podcast. And so if you're able to find those successfully, let us know. And if you had some trouble, let us know that too, because we want to be in a position to point you in the right direction to someone who can offer you that help. So I love saying that music is self-teaching up to a certain point, and then you need someone to help you along. But it's fun to see how much you can teach yourself first, and then pull in someone who can really make sense of the other things that you're having trouble with. So that's the spirit of the show So we are going to now put together all of our chords, including the last three from last week. C, E, G, which is our C chord. F, A, C, which is our F chord. G, B, D, which is our G chord. And then moving on to the D chord, D, F sharp, A, E, G sharp, B for the E chord. And then A is spelled A, C sharp, E. So now that you know 6 major chords, and if you prefer the word triad, you can use triad, but we're just going to say chords here for our purposes. But now you're able to put together a sequence. So we're not focusing so much on songs, but from time to time I may make some song suggestions, or I may refer to songs. I may say, if you are in the market for learning to play songs on the piano, songs that you know, songs that your family knows, then just maybe put together a list of the songs that you are intending to learn playing by chords. And so we won't really cover melody so much, because I really want you to hear how the changes might go with a melody. And there's no fixed way of putting together a sequence. That's the fun part about it. So I hope you find that fun. Okay, so C, F, and G, D, E, and A. Before we go with the sequence, I also want to challenge you to use that as a drill. So just warm up on your chords. Have someone in your family, have a friend, someone call out the chord and say, okay, play a C chord. Next F. Next G. D. E. A. You may even make a game out of it to see how long it takes you to get to those chords. So there are some gaming aspects to all of this too. And you can make it fun for yourself. If you are a programmer or someone who can even put together an app, then challenge yourself to put together something fun for you and your friends to enjoy when it comes to playing chords on the piano. And so now the sequence that I want to give you is going to include just C, F, and G for now. And then next week, what I hope to do is update that by giving you a different sequence that will use mostly D, E, and A, and then throw in one of the chords from the first group of major chords that I taught you. So the chord that I will throw in will be either a C, F, or G in the sequence. So I'm kind of teasing you. I'm not going to tell you which chord it's going to be. So the other thing, too, sometimes when I give a sequence on the podcast, it can be used to play a song, but I'm not going to focus on the song. You may hear it as a song. You may also hear the sequence as something that you can put your own words to. We just want to leave that open-ended for your imagination. So, are you ready? Okay. Let's write down the sequence. So the sequence that I'm going to give you now is C, 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 G. C, C, G, C. C, 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 G. C, C, G, C. F, F, C, G, C, C, G, C. And that's the sequence. Now you know I have to say that more than once, so I will. So if you're driving, if you happen to be listening to the podcast, if you are in a place where you don't have a pencil and a pen ready, I invite you to be podcast ready and be ready to write these things down or type them on your device really quickly. But it's something that you can practice. And then as far as how long to hold each chord, I can give you some suggestions to that, but I'd rather have you reach out to me if it's something you really want to know. So in the interest of just learning a sequence, let's go with this again. It's C, 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 G. C, C, G, C. C, 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 G, C, C, G, C, F, F, C, G, C, C, G, C. Okay, so hopefully you got it this time. I really hope you got it. And give yourselves an applause if you did. That's great. I applaud you for being here and for really trying to put together some sounds that you can enjoy playing on the piano, because that's really what it's all about. If you enjoy playing these sounds, then just go for it and make music your own thing. So now I want to give out some shout outs. So this was a very interesting week for me because I have students that really surprise me from week to week. It really is like an adventure working with these students because you don't know what they're going to ask for next or what they're going to be working on next. So the big surprise for me this week, I found out there were more students that were working on the Baby Shark song. I just said Baby Shark and they all lit up. So now that number is growing. I think I started off with maybe 3 students that were learning the Baby Shark song. Now we're up to at least 5 students. And I think I spoke to a couple today that were also interested in learning the Baby Shark song for whatever reason. So big shout out to all of my students who are learning the Baby Shark song. Good for you. You're using your ears, you are having fun at the piano, and I think that's great. Now, this next student is going to really surprise you. This is a student, and I told the story. Of course, I protected the name of the student, but I told the story to someone today, and they were just really surprised. So as it turns out, I have this student who is learning to play by text notation. That's just the way that she prefers to play the piano. So she's using letters, she's using chord symbols to play the piano, and she had been asking for help to learn this one popular song that she listens to and tries to play using her computer and using YouTube. And so we have been working on this song, and then I came to her this week, and then she said, you know, I really am trying to make it sound more like the original song. And so we had this conversation about how to make it more like the original song. I didn't know what she meant, and then she started pointing out the different breaks in the music, or how the rhythm changes, how the time values change for the chords in the left hand that she was playing to match what was going on rhythmically in the song. And so it was so interesting. It was just something like that really bothered her. So we were able to come to an agreement and come to a solution that works best for her. And so as I was leaving, I was about to walk out the door, and then she said, you know, my friend is going to be very happy that I figured this out. I said, your friend? She said, yes, I have a friend who's obsessed with the song, and I have to make sure it's perfect when I play it for her. And I just thought, that is so interesting. All this time, she was feeling the pressure of somebody that really, really meant something to her. And in this case, it was a close friend who is there to support her in her piano lessons, her music making, and to offer her some encouragement to learn songs that they can both enjoy together. So big shout out to this student. You know, and the other thing was, it was such a reminder that when it comes to music making, sometimes it has nothing to do with the teacher at all. It really has to do with your support group. That sometimes you have family that They really want to hear you play something that they enjoy, and so they keep pushing you. And I'd often wondered about that. I wondered, why are some of these students so anxious when it comes to playing songs on the piano? Why are they so anxious about it? And you don't know because you're not with them during the week. And you show up and you give the lesson, and then you leave the lesson perplexed about why was it so important for them to get to a certain part in the song or to learn that song in the first place. So I'm finding out more and more that it's all about whomever you have in your social circle that will support your music making. So however you can find the support to keep it going, I would say do that, and I think that's a great thing. So I would like to give some special shout outs. This is going to be rare for me today because I rarely do this, but I felt the need to do it today. So I'm going to do it, and I'm going to try to do it in a way that's obscure, that protects the confidentiality of the people that I'm shouting out. But at the same time, we all have computers. We all have ways to Google search and things like that. So I'll be somewhat descriptive, but at the same time, I'll be confidential and not say the name of these people. But for the first time in the history of CMajor Before the Show, in our chord series, I would like to give some special shout outs to some well-known musicians who are also working on helping others to learn music. And I'm not going to point out one particular instrument because I have some friends that are doing this who are also well known. I'm not going to even use the C word. Because I don't know if it's right to call them a celebrity. That's what I mean by the C word. But I'll just say well known. So I have friends that are celebrities that are well known. I prefer to use well known, who are also sharing music with others. And I think it's great to do that. And then there are some well known musicians out there, recording artists that are also sharing music with others in a way that is more visible, and it's all online. So I just want to give a shout out to that because I think that's a great thing to do. If there's any way you can give back, whether it's through clinics or lessons or music camps, whatever the case may be, and you feel called to do that, I think that's a great thing. So shout out to these musicians. I think that's great. And so I also have a shout out to my friends over at NAM. I hope I can say NAM on this podcast. So anyone that's familiar with NAM knows, they know what I'm about to say, but the NAM show is coming up. And so I know I have friends that are going to be going to the NAM show. If you are a musician, if you are a music educator, a music retailer, if you're in the music industry, in the music business, you want to try to go to NAM at least once if you can. It's life-changing, and there's nothing like it. So shout out to anyone who's going to NAM this year. You can look it up. Just look up NAMM, and you'll see all the information, or either go to nam.org and let me know what you think about NAM. So some very nice developments, I'm sure, for pianists, and I'll say pianists in particular. I've been reading a little bit about the show this year. It looks very exciting, very promising. And so anyone who's heading out to Anaheim, just be safe with the weather and safe travels and have a great show. Also want to give a shout out to some musicians in the greater New York City area. There's a benefit concert that's going to be coming up. So if you happen to be in the greater New York City area, and you can make your way over to the music department at Leonia High School. Leonia High School, spelled Leonia, Leonia High School Music Department. They're having a benefit concert called Our Hearts in Music. And so the way they are presenting this is in the form of a flyer. And I happened to receive one of these flyers. And it's going to take place in February. So next month it's going to take place on Sunday, February 10th. And it's going to be at 4 o'clock. So if you can, just Google search that. I'm recognizing some of the names of the performers. So, for instance, you have Cynthia Phelps on viola. She's well known with the New York Philharmonic. And then Daryl Goldberg, who is on cello. And Ms. Goldberg and I have met because I took one cello lesson from her and I quit after that because I thought I belong on the piano, not the cello, as much as I love the cello. But it wasn't her, it was me. I just knew right then and there that my lifelong dream of becoming a cellist was not going to happen. But big shout out to all the musicians, all of the guest performers and musicians that will take place in this concert, and you can find out more online. So now I want to talk about the snow because it's a big deal. We actually started tonight's podcast a little earlier, and I made sure to go live with it because I wanted to make sure I could get outside and get ahead of the falling snow by putting out some ice melt. So, as the New York Post printed today, have an ice day, which I thought was cute. But the snowstorm is tonight. So, if you're out and about, just be safe. And the recommendation is to stay home if you can. But we're supposed to have a freeze here. And the reason I'm talking about the weather is because it's something I love to talk about. Anybody that knows me among my social media friends, they will know that I post from time to time something about the weather because it's just so fascinating to me how the weather changes in the New York City area. But today is Saturday, and we're looking at a high of 36 degrees and then a low of 30 degrees, and then the snow starts in the evening. And then Sunday, 37 degrees, a low of 5 degrees. I can hardly believe that, but the snow is supposed to taper off, and then the temperatures are going to go way down. Can you believe that? So the article says a perfect storm of snow, sleet, fierce winds, and bone-chilling temps will turn the Big Apple into a treacherous mess over the weekend. The city should come out of its deep freeze Wednesday when temperatures could climb back up to 40 degrees. So anybody that's interested in the weather, there's a nice article in the New York Post, and you can read that. And that's it for our CMajor weather report. So thank you for listening to that. Yes, there's something about the weather. So the social media poll, let me say a little bit about that. We did post a simple poll over on CMajor's Classroom on Facebook. And I'm trying to keep it simple because I really want you just to be able to click yes or no. So if you have a chance, go on over there. It's a public page. It's tied into, the Facebook business pages, I think. But we don't really treat it as a business per se. We just present it as something that's available for the public to take a look at. And so you can find information for CMajor's Classroom there. And then also know that it's tied to our WordPress blog, where we do post our homework. So, social media poll will continue, and then we'll just keep it simple for the time being. And if you have any suggestions for that, feel free to let us know. Now, I do have some social media shout outs, and I shouted out Bandzoogle, I think, a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, but I want to shout them out again because they are over on Twitter, they're over on Facebook, where I can see them, and so we had some tweetable moments, I would say, this week with Bandzoogle and also with Bergen Pack. I wanted to give a shout out to these social media giants, Bandzoogle and Bergen Pack. And if you know anything about Bergen Pack, you know they do a lot of programming. There's this really huge hip-hop concert that's coming up over there. So if you're into hip-hop legends and you want to check it out, feel free to go over there. Now, the homework assignment, I just played the homework sound, and so we are going to be posting over on CMajor's Classroom homework for this week, which will also show up in our Twitter feed. It will also show up in Facebook, and CMajor's Classroom is nested in WordPress as a blog. Also, sometimes we post links to books and resources that you can find online. So, for instance, if you need to find a chart for yourself so you can follow along with us, feel free to do that. I read off the poster, but I also like to refer to the chart because the chart that I use has 120 most commonly used chords. And last week I read to you the names of the publishers that put this chart out. And so if you need more information about that, just let us know. But what I like about this chart is that it has letters instead of shading. And then we have another chart that I like that has red dots. So either way, you should be able to find something and pick the one that works best for you. If you don't like looking at red dots, don't pick the chart with red dots. If you don't like looking at letters, don't pick the chart with the letters. If you don't like looking at shading, don't pick the poster with the shading. Pick what's comfortable for you. And we still, on this podcast, like to encourage color. So get out your crayons, your markers, whatever it is that you use to color code things. If you are into color, if you are able to use color, whatever the case may be, we're just trying to make it easy for you to find your own visual for finding chords on the piano. So if you need books or resources, just let us know and follow the links, because the links that we post, they are clickable, and you click on those and we'll take you to a page where you can take a look at some of the things that you may need for the show. So, we're going to see you next week. Don't forget to tune in this evening to the CMajor radio show. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to tell your friends and family to tune in as well, and to share the love of music making with others. We want to be that other podcast you listen to. It's online piano lessons with parents, with chords and wellness in mind. So just know that we are keeping our New Year's resolution. We haven't put it on the back burner. We are staying with our theme. And what we're saying is hopefully a positive message. We're not saying you have to be a parent in order to listen to the podcast. No, we're just saying that there's an audience of parents that I know would appreciate knowing something about playing the piano. And this is what we're offering at this time. And it could turn out to be helpful to more of you listening out there. So next week, if you want to know, I'm going to be talking about minor chords. but I'm going to talk about them within the context of songwriting. So that's just to give you a little bit of a hint, and I'll say more about that hopefully during the week. So for those of you who were not able to be with us this evening, in today's class episode, we played D, E, and A. We also reviewed how to play C, F, and G. We learned a short sequence featuring C, F, and G. C major before the show will, I hope, prove reputable and helpful to parents of music and piano students of all ages and abilities. You don't have to be a parent to listen. You don't even have to see or listen to our podcast. Maybe someone will share with you in their own way what we do. We do want to provide some support for music education and contribute to the profession of private piano teaching online and offline and the field of music making and wellness in the 21st century. So thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Have a safe weekend, and I'll see you next Saturday evening.